Hey folks, guns, gear, on target training out here in Oregon. Today I wanted to give you an update on the Glock 45 pistol that I've been shooting for the last couple months, across the 1,000 round mark. It has been 100% reliable, really an excellent pistol. For those of you like Glocks, I think the Glock 45 may be one of my favorite. I own Glock 19s, I own Glock 17s, I own a Glock 23, I've owned a Glock 34 and 35, and a 26, and I could go on. However, the Glock 45 seems to work really well for me. I like the full-size frame with the 4.2-inch barrel. That just works great. I did make a modification last week. I put in the drop-in Glock Performance trigger. The Glock Performance trigger was introduced at SHOT Show in 2023, I believe. And, you know, I love to try different things and see if they actually perform as advertised. Well, in this case, I have to tell you, I'm favorably impressed. Before we dig in, I'd like to ask you, if you enjoy our content, to please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I really appreciate the comments. I learn a lot from you and from other viewers, and we really appreciate that. So again, if you enjoy our content, let us know. So as I mentioned, just crossed the 1,000 round plus mark. Put about 350, maybe 400 rounds through it a couple of days ago at the range, working a bunch of different drills. So I wanted to really test out the trigger and see, is it reliable? Does it perform? Is there a difference? How is my ability to deliver hits on target quickly and accurately impacted by the new trigger itself? I had previously just dropped in a 3.5 pound connector in the original stock trigger that came with the gun, and frankly, that helped a little bit, but it really didn't change the reset, nor did it change where the trigger actually breaks. So once I put the performance trigger in, I started doing some of these small dot drills that you see here. Shot dot towards her, through one out. Great group here. 5th shot throughout. Good group here. Okay group. Left hand, so I had 3 shots here with this hand, and then 2 just line burners for some reason. So I'm getting used to the trigger. I want to talk a little bit about what it feels like and where the trigger breaks. It feels to me, and it looks to me, like it breaks farther forward. So we've got a clear gun here, and as I press, there's a little bit of take up, but you get to the wall much faster than the stock trigger. So break right here, and if you look at where the trigger is, it's not as far back as a regular Glock trigger. The reset is relatively short. So we've got press, right? Slack, press, wall right here, break. And I'm telling you guys, it feels fantastic. It's smoother than the stock trigger. It's just much, much smoother. And to me, that makes a difference, especially from an accuracy or precision standpoint, and then from a speed standpoint, right? Because if my trigger is breaking farther forward, I've got less slack to take out on the first shot. And then if the reset is shorter, then that to me helps me shoot faster and more accurately. I'm going to pull out an early version, so a Glock Gen 2, a Glock 17 Gen 2, and I have put a 3.5 pound connector in that particular gun, but you'll see as far as where the trigger breaks and how much take up there is, how much slack there is in the trigger, it's different. So let's check that out. So this Glock Gen 2, this G17, has had many thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of rounds through it. I purchased it in the early 90s. I actually traded a shotgun for it, and I have been I shot the heck out of it, frankly, and it's still running, absolutely great. And it's one of those guns I never wanted to sell because it's home base. I replaced the sights with some good Trijicon night sights, and also, as I mentioned, dropped in a 3.5-pound connector. Here we go, Glock 17. So I've got all of this slack. Oh man, it's long, it's still going, and then finally, there. And you can see, if you look real closely at where I've pinned the trigger back, it's farther back. Reset is short, but there's more of there's much more take up on the front. Our Glock 45, right? So not a lot of take up, break, quick reset. But look, when I pin the trigger to the rear, you see how much space? The trigger's not the same position that it is on the older. See how much, there's like not any daylight coming through there at all. Glock advertises their performance triggers as a 4-pound trigger. We got about 4 1/4, 4 3/8 in terms of where it was showing up with our trigger pull measurements. So we took it, we did it like 5 times, and we kept getting the same break in the same place. So it's very, very reliable. It's not on this gun exactly 4 pounds, but it's darn close enough that it does make a difference over the 5.5-pound setup. And even with the 3.5-pound connector, it's still, the 3.5-pound connector in a, if you just drop that part in, it doesn't necessarily make the trigger press 3 pounds or 3.5 pounds. You actually have to do something with springs and everything else. But this is 100% consistent. The Glock performance trigger was 100% consistent, about the same trigger break, and super close to what they promised, at least in the packaging. Frankly, I like this trigger because it's breaking farther forward, which means I can shoot faster and more accurately. Now, before someone points it out, I want to point this out. So these are Trijicon sights, and it's designed for the old frame. So if you have an MOS, essentially the optic ready version of this, or any other pistol from Glock, you've got to remember to order the Glock MOS sights with the different cut here, because the cut for the rear sight is farther back than the standard Glocks without the MOS cut. So I will swap these sights out and put them on my 40, on my Glock 23, just because I really do like the sights. Bottom line, I'll keep shooting it, and we'll see where we get to. I'll give you guys another update on this pistol in another 1,000 rounds or something. It's doing great. It's a Glock. It's kind of what I expected. And I am very, very favorably impressed with the Glock performance trigger. You just drop it in. It's super easy. There's nothing to do. It's from Glock, which is also good because sometimes they freak out, with their warranty if you're not using Glock parts and all the rest of it. So I really like it, and I think it's it's a really, really inexpensive upgrade. That, I think that the whole trigger thing is somewhere between $80 to $100. I don't remember exactly, but it's somewhere in that range. I think maybe I paid $85 for it, something like that. And you get a great new trigger that I think is a huge improvement over their stock trigger that came in the gun. Sorry about all the noise. We've got a lot of construction going on next door, so I apologize for that. So for those of you who watch this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. So I hope you'll share your comments. Do you like the performance trigger, or are you just happy with the way it is? Do you have concerns about running the performance trigger, whether it's reliability or from a carry standpoint or whatever it is? I'd love to know your perspective. I think, though, if you try this trigger, you're going to find it's a significant positive upgrade to the stock trigger that came in the Gen 5 Glock 45 MOS. Well, folks, that's all we got for today. Thanks so much for watching. Finally, and as always, stay safe. Got a couple out, 1, 2, rest in there, nothing super fast, just working here.